Welcome to the Winning Move Podcast. I'm your host, Stratton Brown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a really old friend of mine coming on today, an amazing tax guy, Brady Slack. Thanks for coming on, Brody.
Dude, thanks for having me.
So Brady spoke at my mastermind in January, and he saved one of my business partners, Dino, $1 million this year in taxes.
Yeah, if not a little bit more.
Right, if not a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know you could do that. Explain how you saved him the money. Explain.
You didn't know that I could save people money on taxes, or?
I didn't know I could fucking cost segregate a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So explain to the audience what you did for him.
Well,
because there's
like a back and forth. Like I could go through the whole technical response of like how I saved him money, but I think it comes down in its most basic form. I taught him a tool that is allowed by the government that unless you know what you're doing, you would have no idea. And like I was just in a sales room today and I was talking to him about like different businesses. They had no idea. So there's just like I just taught him a principle that he was able to utilize in his course of business that saved him $1 million plus in taxes.
Right. And so the reason I say this is because it was cost segregating down different rental properties that weren't multifamily units.
Yes.
And for whatever reason in my head, I was like, what the fuck? Like you can do houses. Whenever I think of like a cost seg, bro, I'm thinking like 50 units.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so then you're like, oh no, bro, as long as it's over 250, it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of, I get like with the guy. So I have a personal connection that I refer all of my clients to that does a study. And typically it's like 220 to 225 is kind of the break even point where anything less than that doesn't make sense. But if you've got rental real estate, whether that's commercial or residential, and the cost of that asset was more than $250,000, get a cost segregation study done, especially if you are a real estate professional.
What were the businesses you were talking with all the door-to-door guys?
Well, I kind of take whenever I do presentations, and I'll do it tonight for some of the people that are going to be at this little meetup. I always kind of go through a three-step process that I take anyone through that we do for all of our clients. One, we always simplify things for a couple reasons. Taxes and just finances in general are never taught. Like I talk about things that in theory should be taught in elementary school and high school. Like it's that elementary. So we simplify their finances, how to budget, right? People have this grand idea about budgeting. No one really truly knows how to budget except for the financial experts, right? We simplify their finances so that they know how much money's coming in, how much goings out, what is variable and non-variable with their finances. Two, then we obviously reduce. Like through that simplification process, we should be able to reduce your taxes just by keeping track of your finances. And then after we've reduced the taxes, then we start to produce. We start to put your money in investments. We use tax advantageous strategies to help clients save money on taxes and make more money off of their investments. So with this group, it's a bunch of sales guys who sell solar that I was doing a training with today. There's about 40, 50 people in the training. And they're all independent contractors, so they all make their own money. And what I'll typically do with them is run through the different kinds of businesses that are available. You know, I always ask the question, and I've never had anyone answer this question correctly, but I'll always ask the question, how much money do you think you need to make in order to start an LLC?
How much money do you want?
The answer is nothing. An LLC does not do anything for you for taxes. The LLC does not save you any money on taxes.
I guess so.
It's all pass through, and it's all pass through. And if it's through an LLC, you still pay self-employment taxes on 100% of the profits. Yeah. Right. That's something that we should have learned in 10th grade when we were blowing spit rockets in Mr. Briggs' class. That should have been taught forever ago, you know?
Yeah.
So what I do with them is I say, you guys are making ordinary income. So we want to avoid as much self-employment taxes as possible. So set up an LLC because there is a lot of liability and flexibility within an LLC, and have your LLC be taxed as an S corporation because the S corporation is what provides you with the tax benefits. So those are some, and then, you know, I'll always get the question, and I'm sure I'll get it tonight with LLCs. Once I have rental properties, do I need LLCs for every rental, or, you know, how do I?
It just depends on how you want to do it, though.
It really does.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's like a hard and a fast line where how much risk is there, and
Yeah.
how much risk are you willing to take
It's a
on?
lot of fucking minutia.
It
If
is.
it's every single house, that feels like a lot of minutia. If you're doing like big properties, obviously,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah. What
But there's a tons of different ways to like structure them. Like you can
Yeah.
have one holding company that way for tax purposes. You might have, for example, I have a client right now. He has a property in Hawaii. He has a property at the new Desert Hills place in St. George, Utah, and he has a property just like he has like 2 duplexes, right? So we have a holdings company, and then he has a single member LLC that is owned by that holdings company for his property in Hawaii, a single member LLC that is owned by that properties company for the St. George property, and then one company that owns the other 2 duplexes.
And this might get a little bit into the weeds. So my friend Jason has everything. It starts off top as trust, and then it goes to the trust owns an LLC, then
Yep.
an LLC owns like another LLC or some other bullshit to where it gets pretty hard to pierce that bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the reason behind a trust, and again, I'm not an attorney. I never professed to be an attorney, but the trust, what that does is one, helps for like litigation purposes. I mean, there are some trust setups that are pretty impenetrable. And then the other reason is just estate purposes. You've got plenty of LLCs that upon expiration, death, that gets passed down to your beneficiaries without having to go through probate on all of your different assets. Like it can get pretty hairy in some of those situations. So that would be the reason for a trust.